Okay, let's unpack this. We are tackling one of the most frustrating and, frankly, confusing paradoxes of modern life. If you look around, our society has achieved a level of material wealth, technological ease, and sheer comfort that would have seemed miraculous just a century ago. Yet we are simultaneously seeing just epidemic levels of dissatisfaction, profound anxiety, and this feeling that despite having everything, we're fundamentally empty.
And that gap, that chasm between our accumulation and our actual contentment, it's not a new phenomenon. What we found in our sources is that this issue was analyzed with, well, brutal clarity thousands of years ago.
Right.
We are doing a deep dive into ancient wisdom, specifically a focused reading of Ecclesiastes Chapter 6, which argues that the real tragedy isn't poverty. It's the tragedy of having abundance but lacking the ability to enjoy any of it.
That distinction having versus enjoying is so crucial. So our mission today is to guide you through the observations of the ancient writer, often called the teacher, and extract the essential, actionable lessons. We want to understand why human desire operates like a black hole, constantly demanding more, and what this tells us about what truly makes a life good during the brief time we have here.
It's really a shortcut to understanding why all the modern striving leads to modern malaise. We're focusing on that core conflict. The pursuit of things versus the reception of joy.
So let's begin with the teacher's central observation, which he labels a grievous evil. I mean, this isn't just a minor problem.
No, not at all.
It's a profound tragedy to have wealth, honor, possessions, but to be utterly incapable of deriving any pleasure or rest from them. It's described as worse than never having had the wealth in the first place.
It is truly the defining tragedy of a materialistic life. The source highlights this specific detail, and it paints a very specific and painful picture. It says, God gives a man wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing his heart desires, but God does not enable him to enjoy them, and a stranger enjoys them instead.
That is such a fascinating detail. The stranger enjoying it and say it's almost mocking.
It is. It suggests that the enjoyment, the peace, the rest that the wealth should provide is completely inaccessible to the owner.
But it's easily accessed by someone else, like an heir or maybe just a passerby.
Exactly. And the essential lesson here is that the ability to enjoy prosperity is an internal gift. It is something unpurchasable. You can't earn it.
Right.
You can spend your entire life checking off every external marker of success, the career, the portfolio, the massive house. And yet, if that internal capacity for joy is missing, all that accumulation just generates stress.
The possessions are there, but the capacity for peace it's just absent, a complete spiritual disconnect.
It is. And to drive this point home, the teacher makes a truly shocking comparison, one that's really designed to disrupt our assumptions about what a good life even is.
He puts the miserable rich man up against a stillborn child.
Yes, and this is where the text gets brutal in its clarity.
He argues that the rich man who lives 1,000 years twice over, enjoying extreme longevity and every opportunity, is actually worse off than the stillborn child, who never even saw the light of day.
And we really need to analyze why this is such a powerful statement. I mean, we hold long life and success as the ultimate prizes, but the teacher just flips the script entirely.
So what's the logic?
The stillborn child, having avoided the misery of endless striving, the anxiety of accumulation, that child finds immediate rest. The miserable rich man, despite all his age and possessions, he never finds rest.
Never finds peace, never finds satisfaction.
His entire existence becomes this long, drawn-out punishment, all of it driven by an insatiable, miserable striving.
It's a profound argument that the quality of your existence completely trumps the quantity, and that joyless striving is the real curse. This moves us right from the external circumstances into the internal engine that drives us all.
Which takes us to section 2. The insatiable appetite.
Right. And what's fascinating here is that the teacher doesn't stop at just critiquing the rich man. He says this constant hunger is the core human condition, no matter your status.
Yes, our desire operates like an infinite void. The text gives us the core detail in a single memorable line. It says, "All man's efforts are for his mouth, yet his appetite is never satisfied."
And that phrase, for his mouth, that's metaphorical, right? For all consumption and acquisition.
Absolutely. We dedicate our entire lives, our labor, our energy to filling this metaphorical mouth, to consuming, accumulating, achieving. But the hunger immediately returns. That is the essential lesson of human insatiability.
I see this constantly in our modern consumer culture. You buy the newest gadget, you feel a brief high, but then within weeks, maybe even days, that excitement just fades.
It does, and the longing reasserts itself. It demands the next upgrade, the slightly larger house, the better vacation.
And that's the trap, the cycle of the upgrade culture.
It is. We are constantly convinced that the next thing will finally bring us that lasting peace. But because the longing within us is, well, it's infinite. A spiritual longing, nothing finite, nothing material can possibly fill that void.
The moment you achieve the goal, the longing just bypasses it and points to the next thing.
It's a mechanism built into us that suggests we were designed for something beyond mere physical fulfillment.
So if this appetite is so consuming, it must corrupt even the things we think of as blessings.
It does. The text points out that even things widely considered marks of a successful life like extreme longevity or having many children, they become meaningless without satisfaction.
So even if you live 1,000 years, twice over.
If you lack the capacity to enjoy that long life, and if your striving has alienated you to the point that you don't even receive a proper burial, then those external signs of success actually become evidence of a curse.
The implication of the proper burial detail is so heavy. It's about dying unloved and unmourned despite all your abundance.
It is. If your long life and wealth didn't translate into satisfying human connection or internal peace, then all that work was done in isolation and without joy.
And this brings us to the next logical point. If wealth fails and long life fails, we naturally turn to our intelligence. We ask, if we become smarter, can we beat this trap?
But the answer, according to the teacher, is not entirely. This is where we run into the reality of limitations.
So wisdom isn't the silver bullet either.
It's valuable absolutely for navigating daily life. It helps you manage money, make better decisions. But wisdom does not exempt us from our ultimate shared destiny.
Death.
The wise person and the fool ultimately face the same end. So wisdom doesn't guarantee happiness, nor does it give you a permanent advantage in the face of our ultimate limitation.
And that realization takes us neatly into section 3, where we face up to those unavoidable limitations. If wisdom has its limits, what are the hard truths we just have to accept?
Well, the first major limitation is that we are creatures, not the creator. Whatever exists, your circumstances, your abilities, has been named and determined. The source is very clear that we can't successfully contend with the one who is stronger than us.
So what does accepting that look like in practice? Does that just mean giving up?
Not giving up, but accepting reality. When we try to play God in our own lives, by controlling every variable, predicting every outcome, we are setting ourselves up for tremendous misery.
Because we're fighting a battle we can't win.
Exactly. Accepting that our limitations are set by something greater than us is, ironically, the true beginning of wisdom and the path to peace.
And this feeds directly into the second, more existential limitation, a profound ignorance about what's actually good for us.
Precisely. The teacher uses this powerful, melancholic visual in the text, noting that life is fleeting, passed through like a shadow.
Because our lives are so brief and because we lack foresight, we just don't have the perspective to truly know what is good for a man in life.
We are constantly misled by our own desires. We think we know. We think winning the lottery is good, or getting that specific job is good.
But the reality is often the opposite of our expectations, isn't it?
It is. You get the thing you chased, and it doesn't deliver the lasting joy you promised yourself it would. And conversely, sometimes the greatest perceived setbacks, a career failure, a financial problem, they turn out to be exactly what you needed.
To develop character or humility or just reprioritize things.
Right. Since we can't control the future, our personal judgment about what is good is inherently limited and often faulty. We need guidance because our internal compass is broken.
This realization is the pivot point. If accumulating more fails, if our appetites are insatiable, and our own wisdom is limited, we have to transition to the practical application for you, the listener. This is section 4, the practical shift. What do we do with all this difficult truth?
The primary shift has to be a radical reorientation of focus. Instead of relentlessly pursuing provision, the focus must become seeking the gift of enjoyment.
So we need to actively seek the ability to enjoy what we already have, rather than just chasing the next thing.
Exactly. And this requires recognizing the fundamental limits of wealth. Money provides comfort, yes, but it cannot buy satisfaction, peace, or joy.
We have to stop believing that lie that says, if I just had X amount of money, my problems would disappear and I would finally be happy.
The data and this ancient text, they both show that happiness is independent of that number.
So if money can't buy joy, then our investment portfolio needs to change from material assets to, well, human assets.
That's it. Valuing relationships over accumulation. The text implies that a life rich in loving relationships, time with family, genuine friendships, acts of service, provides a profound, lasting satisfaction that possessions simply cannot touch.
If you spend your life accumulating assets and die lonely, you failed the ultimate test.
And this requires tremendous internal work. It means constantly scrutinizing your motivations. That's the critical check-in.
You have to ask yourself, am I working just to satisfy that gnawing, insatiable appetite for more? Or am I working out of a sense of purpose?
If your motivation is rooted in dissatisfaction and comparison, you're still caught in that trap of accumulation, and that only leads to bitterness.
And since we established that we don't naturally know what's truly good for us, because we're always aiming for the wrong target, we have to seek external wisdom.
Yes, seek wisdom that differs from what you naturally want. This means looking outside your own desires and seeking guidance. It's the ultimate act of humility, accepting our limited creaturehood.
And finally, because life is brief and passes like a shadow, the most practical takeaway seems so simple. Stop postponing joy.
This is perhaps the most immediate action anyone can take. Don't wait until the mortgage is paid off, or the kids are grown, or the promotion is secured before you allow yourself to be happy.
Find ways to enjoy today.
The people you are with, the beauty around you, the dignity of the work itself. That slice of time right now is the only guaranteed time we have. Postponing satisfaction is a fool's game.
This deep dive has done an incredible job explaining why our technologically advanced society can feel so profoundly empty. The core paradox is resolved not by chasing greater accumulation, but by fundamentally changing what we chase.
The conclusion is inescapable. The endless pursuit of more material things will never satisfy that deep human desire because we were created with an infinite longing. The call is to stop chasing the accumulation and start seeking the giver of all good gifts.
Who alone can grant the gift of contentment and fill that insatiable appetite with something lasting? So, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on the realization that satisfaction is tied to the acceptance of limits, not the denial of them. We've all spent time fighting against circumstances we can't change.
Yes.
Ask yourself, what limitation in your career, your relationships, or your finances do you need to stop fighting and finally accept today? That acceptance is often the beginning of both profound wisdom and the true start of peace.
A truly profound thought to end on. That wraps up this deep dive.
And on that note, we encourage you to continue exploring, learning, and diving deep into stories that inspire and challenge you. Until next time.